Okay, hey guys, welcome to our Lunch and Learn with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Tampa Bay. My name's Kelly Serio. I am the Digital Engagement Specialist here at Big Brothers Big Sisters of Tampa Bay, which I've been with the organization for about 2.5 years. And if you see posts on our social media or you perhaps get an email from us, I had some take in that. And we want to do a lunch and learn today to give you guys a little bit more information about who Big Brothers Big Sisters of Tampa Bay is and the kids that we serve, what we might be looking for in volunteers and how you guys can get more involved. So today I'm here with Chad Mitchell and Liz Booth. So Chad, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Chad Mitchell, and I am the Senior Director of Partnerships for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Tampa Bay. And it will be 4 years in September that I've been with the organization. Love the opportunity, love to be here, and I'm hoping that we can share some great information with you guys today as well.
And I'm Liz Booth. I am the Senior Match Support Specialist for Hillsborough County. I've been with the agency for 11 years now, and I work directly with the matches once they've been paired together and as they go out into the community to do their outings and then make those connections to build those lasting relationships.
Great. So thank you guys both for being with us here today. I'm really excited to tell everybody a little bit more about what we do. So Liz, do you think you can tell us what is Big Brothers Big Sisters of Tampa Bay? For someone who's never heard of us before, what does our organization do?
Sure. So we are a youth-serving organization where we take children who are in the local community and we match them up with a volunteer that wants to spend time with them and be a mentor to kind of help them as they navigate through life. Our goal then is to help those children achieve their highest potential by supporting them and supporting the volunteers that come on and mentor them.
Great. And so you said that we serve kids. So what kind of kids are we actually serving with these mentors?
Any child. So any children need to be at least 5 and have started kindergarten to have an interview and to be accepted into the program. And once they're in the program, the traditional program goes until they're 18, but we have actually started an additional program that goes beyond that, and we'll work with them until they're, I think, the age of 26, or they become like financially independent is the goal of that. So we take all children. We have no discrimination. We will take anybody from any walk of life that wants to be part of our organization.
That's great. And I know like Tampa Bay is kind of a broad term. So what areas do we actually cover?
Sure. So Hillsborough and Pinellas are our biggest counties, and then Pasco and Polk. And I will probably have to defer to Chad. I think he knows the other counties. I don't want to misspeak and give you the other counties that we serve.
We just brought on a few others. So yeah.
Well, I just wanted to say, as far as Hillsborough, Pinellas being our largest, and then we had Polk, Pasco, Citrus, Hernando, Sumter, and then we just brought on Alachua and Marion counties as well. I think I hit all of them.
Yeah, so we actually, I think, are now serving 9 counties. So that's a lot of counties a lot of kids in a lot of counties that we're actually serving now. So I just wanted to share some of the statistics from the kids that we are serving. 98% of the kids in our program say they are confident that they can say no to drugs, violence, and skipping school, which is a really, really big deal for us. 94% of the kids we serve report confidence in completing their schoolwork. So keeping those kids on the right track and keeping them involved in school is kind of a big goal of our organization. 92% have better grades, academic goals, and confidence. 94% feel like they have a special adult in their life that they can turn to, which is the whole point of the mentoring program, is having that one special person in your life. 83% feel like they belong, and 95% say they plan to graduate high school or college. So those are all really great statistics and really good things that we're doing here in the community for the kids that we serve. So Chad, so if someone wanted to be a volunteer, what's expected of them as a volunteer for our organization?
Well, depending upon which particular program you choose, we have two main programs. We have our site-based program, which is 1 hour a week. Usually you go to the local school, the elementary school, and you visit with the child, usually over the lunch period. And what that looks like is, we always ask, to warm up to the child, let the child warm up to you. So you really spend that time. It's kind of like an ice-breaking period where you get to know a little bit more about them. They get to know a little bit more about you. And then as time goes on and you develop that relationship, maybe they open up to you, they share, they're struggling in an academic area. And so really and truly, you're just that open ear. I always say, have that empathy, willing to listen, but just that love for our youth. That's the key thing, in regards to what we're looking for as a positive mentor. But with the site-based program, it is only that 1 hour a week. And then you do that once a week. And then also we have another program, which is our community-based program, which gives you the opportunity to go out to the home. You meet mom or dad or relative caregiver, whoever's in that child's life. You meet the child as well, and then you can take them from the home out into the community and do different activities with them as well. So again, those are the two particular programs that we have. But I think that one of the key things that we always ask is open communication, because we're working with you along this relationship. So we just want open communication with you. And then I think probably number one, just being committed to meeting with that child and being consistent week after week, or depending upon if you're doing the community-based, which is 8 hours a month, meeting with them at least 2 times a month and spending that one-on-one time with them.
Oh yeah, that seems like that might be hard to do on your own. Liz, does somebody get help when they're in this program, or are they just kind of like, hey, here's a kid, go hang out, and that's that?
No, of course. So my role as a match support specialist is exactly that, where once you're matched with a child, I will come and I'll meet you at the child's house, where we'll do the original introductions. This is for the community-based program. And then you'll get a chance to meet the parent and kind of just go over some expectations that everybody has for the relationship that we're starting, right, and what those guidelines look like. We'll go over all the policies that we have in place for everything involved with the program. And then from there, I will be calling you at least once a month, but always open to you reaching out to me or whoever your match support specialist is more often than that, if you have questions or concerns that come up, or if you just want to share fun and exciting breakthroughs that you've had with your little. But yeah, we have a wide variety of resources that we like to pull from to help volunteers as they build the relationship with the child, and then helping them to see growth in that relationship and to maintain the progress that they've made as they continue.
Okay, that's great. So that's a little less scary then. You get a little bit of help and support along the way.
One thing I will say, Kelly, is if you were to ask me if you had one thing to say in regards to expectation of our bigs, I always look, we have the bigs, we have the littles, but we're all kids at heart. And so right. I always tell, all of our potential volunteers, you got to have fun. This is such a wonderful program. And I think one of the greatest things that a lot of our matches have is a ton of fun.
Yes, that's definitely true. And as Liz was saying, even if you want to check in and just share those fun moments, I mean, we absolutely love hearing from our bigs and our littles about all the fun and exciting things that they're doing together. So, I mean, that's definitely a big part of it too, is just having fun. So, Dad, what are some of the most common reasons that you hear from people about why they maybe don't become a big, or maybe they don't volunteer with our program?
I'd probably say the most common reason that I hear is probably time. Mm-hmm. Whether they, I just don't think this now is the right time, or, I've been thinking about this and I really want to do this, but I'm just a little worried about the time commitment. And so, when I hear that, I think it's just going a little further, explaining the programs. And again, key thing is, if time is an issue, I always tell everyone, I said, it's kind of unique when you talk with individuals that are currently volunteering and they tell you, Chad, I've been thinking about this and thinking about this for so long, and I've been putting it off, but I finally jumped in. And what I realized is the time flies. As you develop this relationship with your little, it goes so fast. And so what I find is a lot of volunteers that have signed up for, say, our site-based, which is that 1 hour a week. They usually come back and say, well, you know what? Is there any way that I could spend additional time with my little? That 1 hour goes so fast. It just doesn't seem like it's enough, And so again, that's really where I say, if you've been thinking about this, if this is something that's been on in the back of your mind and something that's been on your to-do list, I always urge you to give it a try. And what you'll realize is that time really does fly, especially as you're developing that relationship. And, a large portion of our volunteers will go into are site-based partnerships where they're going to the school for that 1 hour a week, and then eventually look to go to community-based because they want to spend more time with the big. But I think that's probably the first and foremost is that time issue.
The time
I think
issue,
secondly,
yeah.
I think secondly would be costly. People have asked me before, well, is this going to cost a lot of money? You know, am I going to have to spend a lot of money to be a part of this? And I always tell them, especially, you know, when we're doing our trainings, this is a low cost to no cost program. We're not looking for you to spend money within this program. I mean, obviously, you know, they always ask, with the exception of birthdays and holidays and things like that, keep it simple. But Big Brothers Big Sisters invest a lot of time and money into developing programs and opportunities that our matches can be a part of. So whether that's Rays tickets, Lightning tickets, Bucks tickets, you know, to various different sporting events, or, you know, to the Lowry Park Zoo or different museums, we're constantly trying to put together activities that they can be a part of and plug and play with, and not have to put out any of their own monies, but just be able to bring their little along and be a part of that as well. And then I think lastly would be, which is probably most surprising to me, but I've heard it quite often, is they don't view themselves as a mentor, you know, and that's really where I always tell anybody out there, never discount your journey, you know, never discount your journey. Don't ever think that, well, maybe I'm not where I necessarily need to be, or maybe I've made some mistakes in my life. I don't have any value to add. Never discount your journey. I had a lady that had come to me one time. I was at an organization, and so we were recruiting bigs there, and she said, you know, Chad, I don't think that I'd be a good mentor. She's like, I had a rough life. I've been through a lot. And so as we got to talking, you know, I started to realize that, you know, she had went through some situations in her life. You know, she grew up in a single family home. She made some bad decisions, but she began to tell me, you know, but through the resiliency and fighting through that adversity, I was able to be successful. You know, I was able to go ahead and graduate high school, graduate college. I got a position working with this organization. I've been able to grow up through the ranks. And I looked at her and I said, you know, it sounds to me like you have a story of success, you know. And so with that being said, never, ever, ever think that, you know, being that you've already been through that particular journey, that you couldn't be a positive example to our youth. I mean, they're looking for somebody to look up to, and somebody that's willing to spend that little bit of time. So never discount your journey.
Yeah, those are all really great points, and I could see why those would be like kind of big concerns or big hurdles for people who are thinking about mentoring with our program. So just for anyone who's just now tuning in, this is the live Lunch and Learn with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Tampa Bay. We're just having a little bit of a conversation so you guys can learn more about what we do here at the organization, and how we serve the kids in our community. We did actually get a question from Howie. Howie wants to know, so we went over those two programs. So the site-based, where you go and you see your little, maybe at school or an after-school program, and then the community-based, where you can go pick them up at the parent or guardian's home. So they were wanting to know, is it easy to transition from site-based to community-based? I think Liz, maybe you could touch on that a little bit. Is that something that we do, and is that easy to do?
Sure. So it's definitely something that we do. Once you've made that connection with your little, we want to help support that, no matter what that looks like. We have a process in place for doing that does include a number of steps that sometimes are quick to go through and sometimes take more time. It depends on the situation of the child's family, as well as how quickly we can kind of walk through the additional steps for extra questions that we need to take into consideration. And as soon as we get that information, then we can work to start you guys in the community-based program, where we would transition you into having those outings where you pick the little up from the home.
Okay, and that's just based upon, you know, if everybody's in agreement, big, little, you know, parent or guardian is all on board, then we can do that transition if that seems to be an appropriate thing for that match.
Right, and there's a lot of reasons that matches would transition. Maybe the child is moving to a different school where we don't have permission for the big go there, and so now they want to transition into the community-based. Or, you know, maybe the big schedule has changed with work, or they've taken a new position at a different company and they can't have the same time available. So we really want to work with people as much as we can to maintain those relationships, and we're happy to take those steps to get you guys to where you need to be so that we can continue to support you.
Yeah, and I think that was actually a really great question from Howie. So thank you for asking that. And if you guys have any further questions, definitely feel free to put them in the comments. We're going to take the time to answer as many questions as we can during this hour of the Lunch and Learn. So how do we choose our volunteers, Chad? So if someone wants to go through the volunteer process, how do we decide who's an appropriate mentoring volunteer, and how do we go through that process?
So, well, in regards to, so I want to scale back just as far as how we recruit them, and then I'll talk about just as far as the process after they come on board. But our main thing is, from a recruitment perspective, we're constantly out in the community trying to set up recruitment tables, whether that be at a local event, whether that be at an organization. Maybe you're having a health fair, maybe you're having a volunteer fair, or maybe you just want somebody to come out and speak to your employees and share more information. But we're constantly out in the community recruiting more and more volunteers, because we always have more littles waiting on our waiting list for positive mentors. There's always a need for positive mentors out there. But again, I had mentioned those speaking engagements. So again, if you have a corporation out there, if you're part of an organization and you thought to yourself, well, you know what, this would be a great opportunity. Even now, we're making virtual matches. We can do a virtual Zoom call with your organization. We can share that information, and then we can invite you to be able to come out and join one of our virtual trainings. But again, that love for youth, that's what we look for. That's what we're hoping that the individuals have. And obviously it takes a love for youth to be a mentor. And just that commitment and that consistency. We want you to be committed to meeting with your little. We want you to have that consistency on a consistent basis to meet with your little. So again, those are some of the things that we do look for. I know Liz can talk on once we go through training, and I'll talk about training in just a second. There's a back end, how we actually, we do it's called a one-on-one interview. And what we're doing there is we're asking your likes, we're asking all of your dislikes, we're turning around, we're doing the same thing with the little and their family in hopes to make the best match possible for you.
Yes. And I know I personally just went through this process myself to become a big and to get matched. So I definitely know that there's a pretty intensive questionnaire about, where you might be in your life and what barriers there might be to you becoming a big. So Liz, do you think you could touch a little bit more on like that criteria as far as how we might decide if this is the right time for you to be a mentor or not?
Yeah, so we will sit with you, and the interview takes probably anywhere from about an hour to an hour and a half, and it covers, I would say, pretty much all aspects of your life. Like, where are you in regards to, like, are you working? Like, what does your free time look like? We want to ensure that you're able to commit to a child, because we do ask for a 15-month commitment, and that 15-month commitment doesn't actually start until you're matched with a child. So if you do tell us, oh, hey, I am moving out of the state in 12 months, we're going to say, well, this really isn't the best time to start this program, because we can't ensure that you would remain committed to a child, because we're making that commitment to the child as well as an agency. We're telling them when they come through the process, we want to match you with a volunteer that you're going to have this relationship with for a minimum of 15 months. And ideally longer than that. So we cover a lot of aspects, and we're open to answering a lot of questions. So if you get to that point and you get nervous and you're like, oh, I don't think I should go to my interview because I'm not sure that like this is the right time, go or call us and ask those questions ahead of time, because we want you to volunteer with our agency if you're able to do so. But we'll cover all of those areas. And then for the child and the family as well, we try to cover the same stuff. So if the family tells us, our lease is up in 6 months and we're going to be moving across town, or we don't know where we're going to be moving, we're going to say the same thing to them, which is, we want to serve you, but let's wait and let's see what happens so that we can ensure that we do start a relationship that we can maintain. But we're looking at things like, what are your hobbies? What are your interests? What do you like to do in your free time? Because we want to find out about you, so that when we find out about the children that are coming through the program, we can ensure that we have some commonality as soon as we get started. So we're looking at a lot of aspects, and then we're trying to match those up as close as possible so that we can get you guys started on a good, solid foundation.
Yeah,
and Kelly, one thing I wanted to piggyback on, I know we talked about the time, we talked about transitioning from site-based to community-based, but one thing, and I wanted to share this story, never discount the impact that 1 hour can make. I had a mother come to me one time and she said, Chad, I feel like some people may think, well, it's only 1 hour. How can that make a difference in the child's life? You know, when you're going to the school and you're meeting with that child 1 hour a week. And she told me, she said, I wanted to share this with you. She's like, my son was matched with a mentor, and he had trouble in math. He didn't like math. He couldn't stand it. He thought the teacher didn't like him. I mean, he was just, everything about math was not his forte. It wasn't his forte. And so she said, we get an argument, argument matches, trying to get his work done. He just wasn't engaged. He didn't want to do it.
Most parents know that, sure.
Oh yes. I'm dealing with that now. But she said it wasn't until he was matched with his big that she saw a complete 360. And when she got to talking with him about it, apparently his big was an engineer. And so that was one of the things they had talked about while he was at the school is, what do you do for a living? And he says, I'm an engineer. And he said the first thing we asked him was, well, do you have to know how to do math? And he told him, he said, well, you have to have some general knowledge. He's like, it's important, math's important, when you're in that field. And so, just looking up to him and him being consistent and being committed to that child wanted to be an engineer. He came home and told his mom, that's what I want to do. But what was unique is she said, I came home one day and I saw something uncharacteristic. She said, I saw him sitting at the table, math book open, engaged in doing his math homework. And mom didn't have to say anything. She said, I didn't tell him to do that. Normally it's me trying to say, let's go. So again, just being there, it wasn't like his big was telling him, you need to work hard in math and you need to bring that math grade up. I don't think at that point he even knew he was struggling with math. It was just that his little was looking up to him and realizing that, what, if I want to be like my big, if I want to do something like he's done, then I know that I got to take this serious. So again, never discount that 1 hour. If you're thinking about the opportunity to get into the site-based program and be there for that 1 hour a week, it absolutely makes a huge difference.
Yeah, that's a really great point, Chad. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because I do think a lot of people don't realize how much of an impact they can make with such a small amount of time. So that is a really great point. I love hearing those stories. That's amazing. So thank you for sharing that. So we touched a little bit about like the activities that we plan for our matches. So we like to plan a lot of outings where they can maybe get tickets to the Rays or go. We'll have parties and events at like the zoo or Mosey or things in the community. But Liz, like what other activities can I do? Like let's say I want to hang out with my little on the weekends. What's some other stuff that I can do? And am I expected to spend any money on my little? Is that something that I have to do, not to eat or what have you?
Okay, so you're never expected to spend money on outings. We hope that you find low to no cost activities that you can do, like Chad mentioned, and that can be really anything that you're currently interested in that's age appropriate for your little, or things that your little is interested in that you're willing to try with them. So if you both love the beach and your little's parents are okay with you taking your little to the beach, you could go there. If it's to look for seashells, if it's to, do a little walking around, you can go to all the local parks in the area, and there's a lot of them. You could even make like a bucket list of things that you wanted to do together that aren't going to cost you money. You can do things that might take a little more of your money. You can go see movies together. You can go to different activities that are being offered in the community. We're in a different time right now with the pandemic, but ideally there's, usually a lot of stuff to do in the Tampa Bay area, from parks and festivals to farmers markets and just areas that you can go and hang out. You can pack a picnic. I have a lot of matches that do this when the weather is nice. They just grab, food that they have at home. Maybe they make like a peanut butter and jelly, or maybe they do grab like a Subway sandwich when they're out, but then they go to the park and they have a little picnic together. They can bring board games. You can bring crafts for the younger kids, even things like a pack of crayons and a new coloring book that you guys can work on together. And then the key is to take those times to work into conversations that are going to build their relationship with you. So there's really no end to the possibility of activities that you can do. You're not expected to spend money, and you're certainly not encouraged to spend a lot of money. So if your little is telling you, hey, I want to go to Disney World, or I want to go to Busch Gardens, you can tell your little no, and you can have us help you tell your little no, because we've already told them those are not the activities that their big is taking them to do. But they're children and they're going to ask you for things. So they are going to say, if you say, what do you want to do? They're probably going to say, I want to go out to eat and go see a movie, and then we can go do this and that afterwards. And you're going to have to scale that back and tell them.
Yeah, you're going to start seeing the dollar signs, huh?
Yeah, you can tell them, I love all of your ideas. And, you know, maybe for your birthday, we can go do one of those things. Maybe for your birthday, we can go see a movie together. But today, you know, what are some things we could do? And we have some good partnerships, like Chad mentioned, where we get different opportunities and tickets for things. We also have a great partnership with the YMCA. So all matches, so the big and the little, as long as they are together, they can use the YMCA facilities for free. And that's something that we will set up for you once you've met your little and you're officially matched in the program. So that opens up a lot of possibilities to use, you know, basketball courts, to go there and kind of work on some swimming skills together. Some of the ones in our area have, you know, splash pads for the little kids. Some of them offer some different opportunities that you guys can take advantage of as well. And then for older kids, you can start to get into kind of like the weight room. Like you might have littles who are in middle school to high school who play football, and maybe they don't have the opportunity to go to a gym and work out. So if that's something that you're interested in and your little is interested in, you could go there and for a half hour or an hour, you know, work out together and have those conversations while you're bonding over your common interest of being active and healthy together.
Yeah, and those are all really great ideas for low cost activities. But you brought up a really good point, Liz, about the current pandemic. What are we having our bigs and our littles do now, since they can't necessarily see each other in person, or it's not recommended that they do that? How are they staying connected now then?
Sure. It's a difficult time for sure. So I think the one thing, you know, we do want to stress to bigs that are currently already matched and out there, we're not trying to add pressure on you for all of the life changes that you're already dealing with. But we do want to see, you know, attempts to contact your little, to check in with them. We would love to see you guys taking advantage of some of the things offered, like Zoom or different messaging apps that you can use to stay connected with your little. I had a match that I talked to the other day. I talked to the big sister, and she does not bake. She said, I've never been a baker, but my little loves to bake. So her little sent her a recipe, and they both went out, you know, during the week, and they got all of the ingredients. And then her little sister, she said, the big said she didn't even use the recipe. She just let her little sister read through it and tell her what to do. And they both made cookies, and apparently the little's cookies turned out really good and the big's cookies turned out really bad.
Oh no.
But she said it was just she said it was so fun because she got to see her little sister, you know, participate and take a leadership role in teaching her to do something that, you know, maybe they wouldn't have done outside of, you know, being forced to kind of connect on a virtual platform at this time. So, I mean, the key right now is just the consistency and getting to know each other. I have another match that's very new. They've only been matched. They had one outing before kind of the shutdown went into effect and they weren't able to get together. But he calls his little, and I mean, they talk about animals and Pokemon cards. And the big has said, like, you know, for me, it's really nostalgic because it's taking me back to a time when I was little. But they're also still building that relationship and that trust through the consistency and the communication, and then finding ways to connect.
So like Liz was saying, we're still making virtual matches and giving them the opportunity to be able to connect virtually in a variety of different ways. So, you know, if you do come on board, you know, say in the next couple of weeks and you get matched with your little, you'll have the opportunity to be able to still meet them virtually. We have, you know, bigs and littles going to virtual museums, playing Battleship virtually, Monopoly, you know, reading stories together. So there's so many different ways, especially in these times. Our youth need us more than ever, but we can still have that opportunity to connect with them virtually and respecting the social distancing guidelines.
Yeah, and a lot of our youth are very tech savvy, so they're familiar with a lot of these things already. They're using Zoom for school and things like that. And I know I mentioned before that I was just matched. My husband and I are part of a big couple, and that's where we actually, the two of us, get to mentor a little brother together. And we started the process in January, but we didn't actually get matched with our little until April, after we were doing virtual matches. So we've been fully virtual, and we've been able to bond over just our love of animals. And again, with the nostalgia, he likes Pokemon, so we've been able to talk about that. So that's been really cool. But you guys are right. Those are all really great ways that we're keeping them all connected right now when they can't necessarily go and do those great activities that you were talking about. But once we get that all clear, that we can go back to doing those in-person activities. Those are all really great suggestions for doing that and how to do it on very little money. So Liz, you were saying that when we actually match our bigs and our littles, we're trying to look for those things that they might have in common, so that they have that bonding experience. Do you have any recommendations on how bigs can actually like start to make a connection and build a relationship with their little when they're first starting out? Because I know that might be intimidating for some people. The idea of like that one-on-one time with a child, and they're like, what do we even talk about? So how do you guys recommend that they kind of get that started?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Kelly. It can be intimidating. And I tell bigs that going into it. Like a lot of bigs will tell me when I call them on the phone to set up their time to meet the child. Like they're like, I'm really nervous. And I get that. Like you're walking into a child's life and you're wondering, like, will this kid like me? Like, what if they don't like my hair? What if they don't like the things I'm interested in? Like, there's a lot of things to consider. But I think the key really comes down to trying to meet the child where they're at. So finding out what the child is interested in and then maybe exploring those things together. So if the child is interested in Pokemon cards and you have no interest, let the child tell you about them. Let him explain to you, like, who the characters are and how you play the game. Or if the little is really interested in arts and crafts, maybe you go to the park together and you sit down and you just kind of work through some arts and crafts. Or a perfect example is school. Maybe the child hates school, and as a mentor, you really want to make an improvement in that area for the child. It's okay to hold off on looking for improvements and just let the child explain to you why don't they like school or what is it that they struggle with, so that you can kind of help them right where they're at, and rather than expecting them to get to where you would like them to be. So meet them where they're at, start there, and just use those opportunities to get to know each other more.
Yeah, and I really like that suggestion you were saying of having them explain something that they enjoy to you. I feel like that helps like empower the kids, and it's something that really excites them, then they definitely get jazzed about it, and also it can build that confidence as well. Like we were talking to our little about, he's really into dragons, and like I don't really know much about dragons. It's not my thing, but he spent a good 15 minutes just talking to us about all kinds of dragons, and if he was a dragon, what kind of dragon he would be, and all this stuff. So it's really fun to just see him get so excited about something and explain that to us. So for anyone who's just now tuning in, this is the Big Brothers Big Sisters of Tampa Bay Lunch and Learn Live. We're just having a discussion about what Big Brothers Big Sisters of Tampa Bay is, who are the kids that we serve, and how you guys can get more involved. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. We'll address the questions as they come in. But right now we're just kind of talking about how you can make those connections with your little if you're getting started. So we were talking about building that relationship. Let's say, for example, I have a kid that I want to enroll in the program and get a big for that child. Liz, can you tell me a little bit more about how to do that and what criteria we look for when enrolling children in the program?
Sure. So the main thing is, I think, first the age of the child. Like I said, they have to be at least 5 and have started kindergarten to be enrolled in the program at this time. And I don't know the exact age that we enroll them up to right now. I think it might be 12 or 13. But like once they're enrolled, then they do have time to get through the process to get matched with a volunteer. So just because a 12-year-old gets enrolled, it doesn't mean we're going to say at 13, sorry, we don't have anybody for you. We'll continue to look for somebody as long as, the child is interested, and we can ensure that it would be a good fit that they would be a good fit for our program. So the parent just needs to really call the agency is the best way. And we do like a pre-screening phone conversation where we just get the basic information about the family and the child and why they want to be in the program and what maybe the parent expects out of the program. And then from there, we would kind of move them on through the process to our enrollment team, who would reach out to the family to work on scheduling a time where they could come out and do that interview that we talked about earlier, where they're going to sit with the parent and the child together and go over some questions about the child, what the child likes and doesn't like, and then to talk to the parent about, who is your child? What is their personality like? What is it that they could use help with? When we talk about having a mentor, where we explain to the parent that our volunteers are not tutors, they're not here to take your child who's failing math and turn them into an A student, but we do want to know, what is the child struggling with? So again, we can match them with the correct volunteer who might have a certain skill set or interest in something that can help that child.
That they can bond over. Yeah. And so I know we're putting kind of a lot of trust in our volunteers, especially those in the community-based program. We're allowing them to actually go and pick up that child at home and take them out in the community and have that one-on-one time together. So Liz, could you talk a little bit more about child safety? Like, how do we ensure that both our volunteers and our children and the families that we're serving are all being safe in these situations?
Sure. So we do have a pretty intensive background screening that we do on all the volunteers that come through our program. And that's actually a national background check done through fingerprints. So we take their fingerprints and we do run it through a national background screening just to ensure there's nothing there that raises a red flag for us or indicates any type of concern. For the community-based program, we also do a driving check because they will be taking the child in their car. So we ensure that they have, proper insurance and that they don't have, above a certain number of points, or if they do have points that they're, not within the last number of years, to ensure that they're a safe person for us to be allowing to pick that child up from their home and to go out with. And then throughout the process, safety is always our number one concern. So when I'm calling every month to check in and ask how things are going, I'm also asking questions about safety. Where did your little sit in the car? Did your little wear a seatbelt? Did they stay with you? Like, did you ever have any concerns? We want to make sure that the child is safe. So we're going to remind you of simple things like, oh, you're going to the beach. Well, make sure your little puts on sunscreen before you pick him up. Or, make sure your little takes water along if you're going to go to the park and you're planning to play football for 2 hours. And then again, for the safety of the volunteer as well, that's very important to us. So we are going to be asking questions to make sure that the volunteer is feeling comfortable and safe with how things are going. And then we're always here as that support and somebody that you can call if you do run into anything that raises any kind of question or concern for you.
Yeah, that's really great. And, I know that child safety, like you said, is just a number one concern for us. So I know that that's something that we don't take lightly, and we're always checking in with the parents and guardians and littles and bigs just to see how everything's going and to make sure everyone's still being safe. So Chad, if I was interested in becoming a volunteer, like, what is the first step? How do I actually get started with this?
Well, the first step is attending what we call our big orientation training session. We call them our bots. And the beautiful thing about those now, before we had them all across a variety of different counties. So we have them in all of our 9 counties. In different times. That way, you had some on Saturday. Usually in the evenings, we had them from 5:30 to 7. And so if you look on our website, we have all of them listed on our website always at www.bbbstampabay.org. But really, you come out to these trainings, now virtual trainings. You can actually do these virtual trainings right in the comfort of your own home. So I think it's easier than ever, especially if you've been thinking about this, to be able to jump onto one of those virtual trainings. And so what it is, it gives you kind of the do's, the don'ts, the best practice, kind of like a day in the life of being a big brother and or a big sister to a child in need in our local communities. And so a lot of times when you have those questions or, maybe you've been thinking about this, but you just want a little bit more information, these are a perfect opportunity in regards to resources to give you more information about exactly what this program has to offer, not only you, but our children in our community. So that's really the first step. And if you are interested, if this is something you're thinking about, I actually want to invite you to our next virtual big orientation training session on Thursday. So that'll be tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Yep, from 3:30 to 5. And if you want more information, you feel free to either send us just a little information here virtually on the Facebook Live page, or you can reach out to us directly, or you can go onto our website and get that information. All you have to do is click on that link, and we can send you that link, and you can go ahead and join us and get more information in that regard as far as the big orientation training.
Yeah, and what I'll actually do after we end the live stream is I'll go ahead and put a link to our current virtual big orientation and training dates that we have. We're typically doing about 2 a week, but like you said, Chad, the next one is tomorrow at 3:30 to 5 p.m. So if you're really gung-ho about it, that's going to be your very next opportunity to actually get started. So after they attend the big orientation training, the BOT, what is the next step after that? So I've gone and I've done the orientation, and now I'm like super jazzed and I want to do it. So now what?
So after you go ahead and you go through all of the training, that's when we set up your one-on-one interview. And that's the key thing, is we want to be able to pair you with somebody that has a lot of similarities to you. And like Liz was mentioning before, we can still do that virtually, but again, we want to be able to ask those likes. We want to ask those dislikes. We turn around, we do the same thing with the little in their family. And then also during that training, or even after that training or before that training, we actually send you an application. And in that application and questionnaire, you fill that out. It has a variety of different questions asking you about, your life and what's going on to make sure that this would be the best fit for you. And then we have just some additional information. You fill out an application. We go ahead, you submit that, we process that. We give you credit for obviously attending the virtual training, and then we'll go ahead and do that one-on-one interview and get you in the match process, so we can go ahead and get you matched up and get you physically a little as soon as possible.
And get it started. Yeah. So it sounds like it's attend an orientation, fill out an application, do an interview, do your background check and your fingerprinting, and then they work their magic to find the best fit for you and your little, and then it's time to meet, right? That's kind of the process from start to finish? It sounds simple, but like I said, my husband and I started that process in January and didn't get matched until April. So it does take a little bit of time. You do have to be patient, but it's definitely well worth it. We're loving it so far, getting along with our little. So Todd, maybe I don't have the time to volunteer. Maybe I don't have that hour a week or that 8 hours a month for the SiteBased and the community-based that we were talking about. So if I don't actually have that time to volunteer, or I don't think this is going to be a good fit, what are some other ways that I can get involved? Like, what else do you guys have going on where I can still give back?
Well, I would say advocacy. I tell everyone that comes to me and says, Chad, I want to do this, but I just unfortunately can't do this right now, or I don't have the time to actually volunteer as a mentor. And I say, well, can you spread this word? You know someone in your network that may or may not be interested or would be a good audience to get in front of. And 9 times out of 10, I get a yes. And so that's why I always ask everyone out there, even if you are already involved in some capacity, advocacy is huge, because obviously as we inspire you, you turn around, you inspire someone else, and that keeps on going. That chain reaction will only help take our waiting list of children that are waiting for bigs down to 0. And that's our goal. So I would say first and foremost, advocacy. Secondly, maybe you can help support us financially or attend one of our fundraising events. Right now, and I want to mention this because this is a great opportunity, but right now we have a partnership with the Raise Foundation. And so the Raise Foundation has told us for the whole month of May, every single dollar, every single penny that we bring in, up to $60,000, they'll match it. And so this is really a call out to our whole community, because this is huge, and this is, really helpful in regards to not only, reaching our mission, continually doing our mission in our communities, but giving more children those opportunities. So whether that's $10, it becomes $20. If it's $1, it becomes $2. If it's $100, it becomes $200. To support a match for 1 year is $1,500, and so that becomes 2 matches. And so again, I would ask, for you to think about that, spread that word for others to maybe think about that, but you can support us financially as well. And then also maybe even just volunteer at one of our events. We have tons and tons of events that we do. For instance, the Art of Helping Children's Gala, we have that every single year in September. It's a great opportunity, whether you want to be on the receiving end of it, where you're coming out and you're being a part of it. You can dress up, bring your family and friends, invite your organizations, celebrate our successes. We eat great food. We have great entertainment. We even have a little bit of dancing. But again, it's all supporting the children in our community. So it's another great event you can be a part of. You can volunteer at that particular event. We have something called Over the Edge. So if you want to reach out to your network and say, you know what, I'm going to go over the edge. I did it a couple of years back, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not the biggest fan of heights, but it was something that I've always wanted to overcome. And so I reached out to my Facebook network, and I had family and friends all the way up in Maine to Pennsylvania, all on Facebook Live while I'm suspending down 17 stories at a downtown Hilton. It was a great experience. Let me say that. I had a great time. I would do it all over again, to be honest with you. But again, get engaged in some way, shape, form, or fashion. There's always something. We always provide something for everyone. And so I definitely urge you to reach out to us, find those ways that you can get engaged and plug in and support our children and youth in our communities.
Yeah, and I actually love Over the Edge. That's one of my favorite events. So it's hotel down the side of the Hilton in downtown Tampa at 17 stories. And in order to do that, you actually have to raise $1,500, and that supports one match for a year. So like Chad said, he did it. That's one of my favorites. I love going to that event. It's so much fun to actually watch all the people face their fears and rappel down the side of the building. If you're interested in learning more about some of our other events, we have lots of bowling events that we do. Bowl for Kids' Sake is one of our largest fundraisers. Right now, we can't actually bowl. We did have to reschedule some of those for later in the year because of the pandemic, but that's another opportunity to get involved. You can always check out our website as well, as we have an events calendar on there. Our Facebook page lists all of our upcoming events. So that's a great way to get involved. And like you said, the raise match, I actually checked this morning, and we are about halfway to our $60,000 goal. We checked this morning. We're $27,000 away from getting that $60,000 full match, which will be doubled. That'll be $120,000 with the raise match. So you guys should go and donate right now. There's a donate button on our Facebook page, or you can go to our website, help us match those dollars. We're going to be really excited when we actually reach that goal at the end of the month, because we're going to do it, and it's going to be awesome. So we actually have a few minutes left here in the 1 o'clock hour. It's 12:46. So I just want to put out one last call for questions. Oh, Howie reminded us, Clays for Kids is another event. Thank you, Howie, that we do. So that's a shooting clays event that's normally in November, I believe. And it's hosted by Frenchie's Restaurants, and that's a fun one as well. It's very loud. I've been, and I always have to wear my earplugs and stuff. And so, but that one's a lot of fun too. Shooting clays, you don't have to have any experience. You can just go out and have a good time. But there's prizes and stuff for that as well. So yes, thank you, Harry, for that one. We have so
Kelly, I wanted to say I had an opportunity to actually be a part of Clays for Kids and actually go out there and shoot the shotgun. I mean, it was an absolute great time,
Yeah.
And so I urge anybody out there who has a love for the outdoors, or even if you don't have a love for the outdoors, but you've always just wanted to get involved with clay shooting. It's very safe, very fun environment. It's a great opportunity, even with that coming up, the fact that it is outside and the way they have the camp set up to go ahead and clay shoot. The social distancing guidelines would be perfect, so we can maintain that. But I think it would be absolutely a great time for you to come out and be a part of that. Also, I wanted to mention in regards to our Bowl for Kids' Sake, I know that many of you may have been a part of that. Your organizations may have been a part of that as well, where we went out to the bowling alleys, but we also are doing our virtual bowl. So even though we're necessarily not being able to go out to the bowling alleys, you can still get involved. For instance, a lot of employees, a lot of, our supporters have actually recorded video of them bowling in the house. I actually have one I'm going to be posting here with my sons in a little bit, and really just calling out to all of my network just to support the mission in our virtual Bowl for Kids' Sake opportunity. So if that's something that you want to get involved with right now, you can do that, and feel free to reach out to us directly. We can guide you, we can provide you whatever you need, and kind of talk with you a little bit more about that. But it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, that's a great point that we are still doing our virtual Bowl for Kids' Sake as well. So if you guys want to share your bowling from home videos, make sure that if you want it to be shared on our page, make sure you post it publicly on Facebook. Tag us. We'd love to share your videos. We love seeing them all come in, and we've seen a lot of really fun and creative ways that people have been bowling from home when we can't actually bowl in person. So that's a great way to support the virtual Bowl for Kids' Sake as well while we're all social distancing. And oh my gosh, we have just have so many great events that I hope we're not missing any. Oh, we know what? There's one more that I'm thinking of. we have our bass fishing event. This is our second annual, so this is a newer event. It's coming up on May 30th, so just in a couple of weeks. And we will be having that in Lake Wales at it's Camp Mac, a Guy Harvey Lodge, and we'll be social distancing and things for that event as well. But since we're all on boats, that makes it a little bit easier to do. So if you're interested in bass fishing, that's actually our next upcoming event. Like I said, it's on May 30th. You can get the details on our Facebook page, and you can register for that as well. So that's another great way to get involved and give back if you're interested in doing maybe one of our fundraising events rather than volunteering at this time. So I don't see any other questions coming in at this time. So Chad, Liz, do you guys have any kind of final words or thoughts before we go?
Well, I just wanted to mention, as far as I know, we put a lot of events out there for you and opportunities for you guys to engage and be a part of supporting Big Brothers Big Sisters of Tampa Bay in your communities. But again, like Kelly had said, you can go onto our Facebook under our events and see all of the events that are coming up. Also on our webpage, again, at www.bbbstampabay.org. You're going to click on the right-hand corner where you see the three lines, and then under the events tab, you'll have all of the updated events that we have available throughout the year for you to take advantage of as well.
Yes, yeah, and we keep that up to date with everything that we currently have scheduled. And if there's any changes to our event dates, given the pandemic, we know everything can be changed at any moment. So we keep that up to date, and if there's any changes, we will let you guys know via either email or through the website calendar as well. Liz, we have a hello to Liz from Ali Garcia. They say, "Hi Liz, miss you, great job." So you get a little shout out there in our comments. And Des says hi to us as well. Hi Des. Des is our coworker. She's great. But yeah, Liz, any last thoughts before we sign off for today's Lunch and Learn?
Just if there's any bigs out there watching right now, just know what you're doing is great. And sometimes it gets frustrating. And when things like this pandemic come out of nowhere, things change. So don't get discouraged. Reach out to us if we can help. We're trying to host some kind of virtual events and activities for matches as well. So hopefully you're able to take advantage of those and just keep up the good work. Maybe in this time where you can't spend as much time with your little, take the opportunity to share with your friends and family what your relationship with your little is like, and encourage them to look at the possibility of joining you in working with us in the future.
Great. Thank you guys so much for joining us today for the Lunch and Learn. And thank you for everybody that tuned in. Howie, Des, Jack, Andrew, Lee, Denise, thank you all so much for tuning in. I know there were more of you, but I can only see so many, only the people who commented or I'm Facebook friends with, it lets me see. So all of you that weren't named, thank you so much for tuning in. We're so glad that you guys watched today and learned more about Big Brothers Big Sisters of Tampa Bay. If you have questions that we didn't actually answer in this Lunch and Learn, feel free to actually write them in the comments. I'll be monitoring the comments as well after we sign off. So if you have questions, we can answer them after the video has ended. But again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Chad, Liz, thank you so much for your time today. And I hope that everybody found this valuable. And we'll see you guys later. Thanks for tuning in.